Yeah, so how's everything going? How are you guys surviving the lockdown?
I haven't killed him yet.
No, she hasn't killed me, but she's making me do all kinds of stuff in the backyard that I don't like.
Yeah. Picking up some habits.
No, dog poop.
Well, it's bears this time of the year. We have a pear tree, and the squirrel keeps picking them off and throwing them on the deck. So.
Oh, you get like black bears?
Or pears, I think.
Pears.
Yeah.
Oh, pears. Oh.
Yeah. Pear sauce all over the deck. It's awful. What about you guys? So you guys have been busy with this campaign. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going good.
It's going really well.
After the launch, we've had a really good response. A bunch of people getting into this campaign and even more racers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
It's been good.
Good.
Well, I got a couple more stunt folks for you. One of them being the first recipient of a Canadian Screen Award for a new category we got for stunts just this year. And
wow.
She's fantastic.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really interesting.
So she's
That'd be awesome. Yeah. Let's get her on the phone.
She doesn't hold anything back.
That's great. Even better.
Alrighty, well, let's get to it's down to business here.
Sure.
So my first question is for Shane. Can you tell us about your background in professional stunt driving?
I'm a professional stuntman and have been since I was 17 years old. It's something I always wanted to do, and when I finished high school, I came to Toronto and got into the industry that sort of. But in those days, there wasn't a lot of driving stunts being done in Canada. You know, everything that you saw was all U.S. stuff. So I made a point when I got in that I got every single book I could. I got every newspaper article I could. I did as much reading as I could, watched as many shows about stunt people, basically to learn as much as I could because, you know, knowledge is king. And at an early age, the second year I was in the industry, I had the opportunity to work with what I consider and what most of the industry considers the greatest stunt driver in the world, Gary Lofton. Gary Lofton is the man who did Bullet, Vanishing Point, Sugarland Express, all the great classic car movies from the 70s. And I had the opportunity working with Gary on a picture called High Point in 1979. And we were working nights and we wrapped. It was a Friday night, and Gary asked me if I could give him a lift back to Toronto. We were shooting up in Orangeville. And I said, yeah. And so I drove him back. And this is in the days when they were just starting pay-per-view in hotels. And so Gary invited, excuse me, my throat's going, but Gary invited me up to his room for drinks. And this is like, 7 o'clock in the morning. So I said, sure. So I went up and I was having a beer and we were talking. And he turned on his TV. And what was coming on TV but Bullet? And he said, would you like to watch Bullet? And I went, are you kidding? So he turned Bullet on and gave me a play-by-play through the whole movie.
Oh, he broke down everything for you?
Everything. Told me the whole story.
That's a stuntman's dream.
Oh, and to this day, that's the highest point in my career. Sitting with Gary Lofton and listening to the stories. And I mean, this guy did everything. He did It's a Mad World, anything that involved cars. Do you remember Spielberg's first movie?
Yes. Duel, yeah.
Gary Lofton is the man who drove the transport truck.
No way.
Yeah. So, I mean,
wow.
You look up Gary Lofton, and he's a legend in the industry to this day.
Wow.
So I had the opportunity to sit with him, get the whole breakdown, and Gary told me, he'd been a stuntman. He was in his 60s at that time. And he had done everything, from silent pictures right up to then. And I remember him saying, when you get too old to fall down and pick yourself back up, get in a car. All you got to do is press the gas and hit the brakes.
That's a little more than that.
Yeah, it was a whole lot more than that. But basically what he was saying is when your body can't take the pounding anymore, start doing car stuff. And I started doing it from that day on. I taught myself. I was lucky enough to be taught by other stunt people. And I was also involved in the thrill show business. So I got to work with people like the Williams brothers, who were, they had their own thrill show. And in those days, they were the ones that were doing all the car stuff. So I had the opportunity to work with some of the best car people in the industry at an early age. So that's basically how I got into the car stuff.
But he's done everything. Like he's, you know, we have got pictures of him on fire. He was one of the best high fall guys going around for a long time.
Oh, I did. I started, when I started, I did everything for like about 30 years. You had to if you wanted to make a living in Canada or anywhere as a professional stuntman. You obviously, you specialized in things that you were a little bit better at than, you know. And so I kind of got a name as a bit of a driver. And so I just continued. More people would hire me to do more stuff. And as the years went on, I got known as somebody that would try something that nobody else had tried. And I took a lot of pride in watching things that other stuntmen were doing in the US and Europe. And I took a lot of pride in inventing stuff. And I used to carry a book that had my wish list. It had 12 different car stunts that nobody had ever done as a wish list. And when I would go in and see producers and directors about a movie, I would usually say, you know, this would be a good time. We could probably put this in there. And I, you know, would sell them on the idea that nobody's ever done this. Nowhere. This would be a first time. And they'd be like, yeah, you sure you can do it? And, oh, yep. You know, I sold a very good friend of mine. His name was George Flack. He was a producer. He called me for a picture called Jungle Ground. And I was the stunt coordinator, and I was setting up all the stunts and doing a lot of them. And I sold him on doing a 360 in the air.
A 360? Oh,
in a car.
Goodness.
But the car is totally on fire. Do you remember the James Bond picture where they 360?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, they did that on a complete wooden ramp with a landing ramp. I did it off a pipe ramp right onto the ground, and the car was totally on fire. It blew up, had a set of gas pumps, went up 360 in the air, came back on the wheels, and kept on going.
That's amazing.
I hope you guys weren't looking for a short interview because he can go on forever.
Oh no, please. I want to hear all the stories, man. So did you land it? Did you land it like on 04 wheels?
Oh, I came down. I landed on the back right rear end, which snapped it over onto the four wheels, that's what we had planned from day one. That it was going to come back on his wheels to keep going.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, I'll send you his demo reel.
Oh yeah, that'd be fantastic. Please, I want to see that.
Yeah, it's just got car stuff on it, but I've done everything, fire kegs, you name it. I had to do it all, and you know, then I had to teach people coming into the business how to do it. So.
Do you guys know who Super Dave is?
Super Dave? I feel like I've heard of him. Yeah.
Okay, this was his stunt double.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
When they didn't use the dummy, they used the real dummy.
Super Dave. I have to go back like that. When did that come out?
He's
back in the 80s. I started with Bob Einstein, who played Super Dave. Bob was a producer and a writer, and he wrote a TV show that was being shot in Canada called Bizarre. I don't know if you guys remember Bizarre.
Bizarre, no.
No, but it was a comedy series thing, and it was quite popular. And Bob invented Super Dave on that show. I doubled him on that, and then when it came into a TV series, they called me up to do it, double him on that.
I feel like I think Super Dave. I looked it up. I remember watching like a couple like little bits of it. My grandpa and my dad were like really into it. They were the big car guys, and they kind of turned me into a car guy myself a little bit.
Well, we didn't do much. We didn't do any car stuff on Super Dave. Everything was bodies. It was always like you're getting slammed into this, knocked off of that. You know.
Who knocked you out?
Oh God, I've been knocked out.
No, which
God.
which box?
The Canadian. I'm not sure. I got knocked out by the Giant, the wrestler.
Oh
Right?
No, it's Canadian.
Like Big Show or
are you talking about Andre?
Yeah, Andre.
Canadian Giant. He was the Canadian Giant, they called him. It wasn't Andre.
Oh,
Knocked out by him doing
The one from Montreal, I think.
And then I got knocked out by one of the boxers. I'm not sure if it was Holyfield or...
One of the big boxers. They put him in a,
Yeah, it
in
was
a
world
ring
champion.
with him, and they knocked him out cold. I got a picture of him hanging up. Down
No,
the
that
rope.
was the wrestler one. The ring one was the punch machine. Yeah.
wow! I can't believe that.
When he forgets things, you know why, right?
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I've had a lot of concussions through the years.
Yeah.
So to get into the stunt driving, did you have to prove that you did some kind of training? Like, did you have to have like mechanics training or something like that?
You know, in the days when I started, no. It was just sitting with a director and producers and talking about stuff and coming up with ideas. Like, you know, if the writer would have something he'd written that he felt would look good on camera, and you could say, well, yeah, we can do it, but we can't do it quite the way it's written.
Okay.
We gotta change it a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, and in those days, the cars weren't rigged to do that. None of the cars were made to do that. So you had to find ways of setting the car up so it had 180 or, reverse 180 or do a broad slide.
Right.
And it was everything was trial by error. We would go out in a parking lot when nobody was around, take a car out, test it, or you would go and you would rent a car.
No.
Oh. Go to Enterprise.
I might have done that 40 years ago. You don't do that.
You don't do that now. 40 years ago, you could go to Hertz and rent a race car, remember?
Go to like Trader Joe's or something.
Yeah. You can go to Hertz and rent a Shelby and go racing all weekend and bring the car back on Monday.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we definitely don't condone renting cars to do this.
No. And nowadays, they will charge you. They'll look at the car and check the tires. They know you've done something to it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you always see like those like kids on YouTube like renting Lamborghinis, and they'll like,
No. The rental companies are on to this stuff. They know, like if you bring a car back and the wheels are square, they know there's a problem, right?
Yeah, they know you've been out doing something. So we used to, a couple of guys would get together and we'd go out and we'd set up cones and set up little courses, practice. A lot of that, well, even to this day, you'll get called to do a job and, you want to take the car out, you want to test it beforehand because you don't want to be on set.
right.
And find out the car can't do what you want it to do, And
Right.
as a coordinator, I tested every single car that I was going to give a guy to drive. Because there's nothing worse than having a guy say to you, oh, well, the car did this or the car did that. Well, no, I'm sorry, the car didn't do that because it hasn't got a mind of its own.
Right.
Well, nowadays the cars do have minds of their own.
Yeah.
But back then they didn't,
They have to look. You have to look out for things like, if you're going to go and smash a car, you don't want it to have a full tank of gas. You don't want it to have an airbag. So there's lots of work that goes in behind making sure that the car is
It's
prepared to do what it's
properly.
going to do.
Yeah.
Right? That's really important, and that's what these street racers are not taking into account.
I've
Right.
had airbags go off on me.
Yeah.
And
Right.
they do not feel good, believe me. They're there to save your life, and they do that. But in the process, they can do a lot more damage to you than, trying to save you, too.
So what I guess part of what he's saying is it's taken him 40 years to get to be able to do what he's doing today. So
Yeah.
these guys that are out doing it on the streets really don't have a clue what they're doing. They really don't. There's a lot that goes into stunt driving.
You know, some guy goes out in a parking lot and does a 180 and thinks he's a stunt man. No, you're not.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and that, to me, I built my reputation on precision. Like, I was the guy that could stop the car on a dime.
Over and over and over and over again. Because sometimes it takes multiple times to get a shot right. Because while he may be in the car doing something, there may be other stunts going on around. And so a stunt driver has to be on the mark every single time. If not, it throws the entire sequence off. And so that's what he became known for. Literally putting that thing on a dime.
When they set a camera, let's say on the side of the road, and it's $100,000 camera, you know, and they say, okay, we need you to slide the car sideways so the back wheel stops 6 inches from the camera, and we want to see the Dunlop logo right there in the lens.
Oh, interesting.
You know, you got to do that. You know, and not once. You got to do it over and over because they're going to adjust the camera, they're going to adjust the lens, they're going to adjust the angles. So you have to be able to do that over and over and over again without wiping out that $100,000 camera.
Or the guy behind it.
Yes.
You gotta make sure that Honda symbol is in frame, where you're like all the money's coming from Honda.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, one of the biggest things that they used to ask me to do all the time was they said, okay, Shane, we want you to slide the car right up to the camera and be 6 inches away because we want to see the Ford logo or the Chevy logo or whatever. We want to see that take up the whole lens. And so when we were doing our stunt driving school, my lovely wife Tania would walk out into the parking lot. This is how we started. I would be at the other end of the parking lot, step on the gas, be squealing my tires from start to finish, and stop 6 inches from her knees.
Whoa.
And I would tell everybody in the class, this is what I'm going to try to teach you. Now, I'm not going to let you take runs at my wife. You're going to take runs at Combs.
Yeah.
That's what I try to teach people when we were doing the driving classes, you know.
So it's not just the skill. That stunt driver has got to be able to develop, you know, a pretty cool core, you know, to keep calm and to be confident and he has an ability that he can just block out everything around him, like nothing matters, right?
That's because usually it doesn't matter.
So going back to like setting up like a car stunt, when you have to do a car stunt for a movie, what is the like beginning and end of that process?
Well, it depends on what the stunt is, of course.
Well, let's talk about car stunts. I think that's
but it depends on what. Okay, let's say for an example, you want me to roll a car over.
Down a hill.
Okay. Yeah, roll a car down a hill or something. Yeah,
at 60 miles an hour or something. You know, okay, it starts with sitting with the director and the producers. First of all, you need to find a location where you can actually do it.
Okay.
You know, then getting the permits. Then picking the car that you're going to use. And then from that point on, it's building the car to do what you want it to do so you can walk away from it. I've had on a couple of occasions, I've had situations where they've asked me to roll cars over with cameras in the cars. I did the movie Fly Away Home about the geese and that, and I rolled in the beginning of the movie, the guy's wife dies in a car crash and his kid. And so they wanted to see this car roll over 3 times. They had hired someone else to do the job. I was away in Montreal, doing a picture in Montreal, and I get a call from the producer saying, can you roll a Mercedes? And I went, yeah, why? And he says, well, we just tried doing it, and the stunt guy couldn't do it, and there was a problem, and it costs us a lot of money. You know, can you do it? And I went, yeah. But I said, I'm here doing this picture. He says, well, can you fly up on the weekend, meet the producer? So I did. And first questions out of their mouth was, can you actually roll a Mercedes? I said, yes, but you have to prep it. And you got to understand, a Mercedes is designed not to roll over.
Yeah.
They put all the safety in that thing to make sure it doesn't roll over.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to prep the car, take all the safety features out of it.
We're not going to tell you how to do that because we don't want folks on the street trying to do that. So we're not going to, no trade secrets here. So
yeah. So we prepped the car, special effects, and we prepped the car. We took all the safety features out of the anti-braking systems, everything else out of the car that were going to distract from what I needed it to do. And then we put in a roll cage. We built separate cages for the cameras because the director wanted 2 cameras inside the car. And this car was going to flip 3 times. And about 2 months before that, I had a problem with doing a similar stunt. And I told the people, I said, you sure that camera's strapped in? They said, yeah. I went whipping around the corner. The camera snapped loose, got me in the head, knocked me out. If I hadn't had a passenger in the car with me who grabbed the steering, I was sliding into oncoming traffic. And if he hadn't seen that I was banged, he grabbed the steering wheel and got the car off the road. We stopped 6 inches from the front door of a striptease place.
In Montreal.
Good Lord.
Or we were going through the front door.
Do they pay you like an extra like $500 or something when you have to do a stunt like that?
Oh yeah, I tell them how much I want for it.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
It's called a stunt adjustment.
Oh, good. Okay.
And the adjustment depends on how many times you got to do it, the danger involved, the skill involved, and so on. So back to where I was with the car. So anyway,
Yes,
so I was concerned about the cameras, and when I arrived, special effects, and I made sure that all the cameras were secured, the camera people were great, strapped everything down. There was going to be nothing flying in the car except me. And we went in, got it on the first take. The car rolled over 3 times, landed where we said it was going to land, and I got out, went to the airport with my crew, and got back on a plane, flew back to Montreal to finish the movie we were doing there.
A lot of times the cars are not the best. Like Fast and Furious 7, which one was in Colorado? 6. I get them all mixed up. 6, 7. 7. They did the car chase down Pikes Peak.
You know Pikes Peak?
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, the beginning of the movie when you see all the cars coming out of the C-130, they land in Pikes Peak. It's supposed to be Afghanistan, but we're using Pikes Peak. So instead of doing the car chase up the hill, we did the car chase down the hill.
They actually do car chases, clubs and everything that race up Pikes Peak. So this was completely different. They were racing down Pikes Peak, and it's called one of the 13ers, so it's 13,000 feet up.
Yeah, it was wild.
The weather was insane. It would change from minute to minute.
Yeah, when you were at the peak, we were getting ready to do a shot. They had the helicopter there. The helicopter disappeared. And we were on the walkie. Hello, no, bad weather's coming in. And 5 seconds later, it was pouring rain, foggy. You couldn't see nothing. It was just like.
The cars didn't have windshield wipers.
Yeah, we didn't have heaters or windshield wipers. And we were driving the Mercedes G-Wagons coming down in a slalom behind the bus. Yeah.
Is that also for safety, like taking the heater out and stuff?
Well, a lot of times when they're prepping cars, they're prepping so many cars, right, that when they start prepping them, they don't know where we're going to be shooting.
Oh.
It's mechanics of prepping cars,
Mhm.
Okay, you need a cage. Well, we'll do 20 G-Wagons with cages in them, right? So they take out as much stuff as they possibly can, because you don't want stuff flying around. You don't want stuff breaking down that's going to create other problems. So most of the cars we get are completely stripped inside.
They're not very comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not the most. You're not going to go on a tour with one of these things,
I think. So when you're filming on on public roads, so like say you want to film a scene in like New York somewhere, what are the precautions you have to take to make sure that the public is safe?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because there were a lot of cities around the world. I'll use a couple of different examples. New York was a good one. Los Angeles, they have film liaison officers. Every city.
Toronto has them. They've got a film office.
Everybody has a film office. So you go to the film office, you tell them what you want to do. They give you permits. In cities like Los Angeles and New York, they have a dedicated police force that all those police officers do. They're all paid duty police officers. And all they do is they just go with the film, lock off traffic, make sure nobody gets on any of the streets. You have production assistants that make sure nobody walks out from an alleyway. So everything is locked off. You were in control of your own environment at that point, And even with that said, there was always still a chance that someone may get through.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
You have to be super alert, because if you think about it, trying to do, let's say, a commercial on, Bloor Street in downtown Toronto, you've got to think about all those doorways where people could come out. You've got to think about those alleyways. So you've got to have either paid duty police. Well, for sure, they're the ones that lock down the traffic, right, to stop the traffic from coming through. But then you need a person at each entryway to the area where you're filming. So it takes a lot of coordination and
a lot of people. And everybody has to be super, super alert and watching what's going on. So it's serious business, because, one wrong move and, very quickly goes wrong. Yeah, and if you're shooting in a city like Los Angeles or New York that do have dedicated police forces, then you're working with people that have done this night after night after night after night after. I mean, they've got years of experience of what to watch out for, and what to make sure doesn't happen. And the police officers will sit with us when we're designing the stunt. Before we do it, before we rehearse it or anything, we have the dinky toys out, and we do everything with little dinky toys to show everybody, the camera crew, everybody, what it is we're going to be doing. So everybody is aware. And by doing that, nobody can say, well, I didn't know they were going to do this.
And you see, that's what, again, we get back to the stunt driving on the streets and the street racers. They're not thinking about that guy that's coming around that alleyway. They're not thinking about that kid that could come racing out of his apartment building and dash into the street. They're not thinking about that kind of stuff. And that's where, these deaths and injuries are happening. And it's not that anybody, I'm sure, means to go out and hurt people, but they're just not thinking about, their surroundings.
Yeah, when you're 18 years old,
you're invincible.
You don't think about that.
Yeah.
It's not just you, it's the other people you're going to affect,
It's like it's like wearing masks these days, right? You're wearing the mask to protect other people. Safe driving, you're doing the same thing by protecting other people. It's not about you.
I compare stunt driving, as the government calls it. I compare that to DUI.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. You're endangering people by getting in the car and doing it.
Yeah, I think
Yeah. You don't realize you're in like a safer position in the car than you are outside the car.
So that was a really good question about, how they make sure it's safe to to do this
Yeah,
on city streets.
we'll
There's a
do,
lot of work that goes into it.
we'll do 5, 6, 7, as many rehearsals at different speeds until we get to the speed that we want. And that is to make sure there is nothing we are missing. You know, we never do anything on just, okay, I'm ready, let's do it, without rehearsing. Everything is rehearsed, you know.
And you mentioned before about modifications of vehicles and what they do to your performance cars on set. But do you know of any modifications of vehicles that maybe street racers that illegally race on live streets or illegally perform stunts on live streets?
Oh yeah, a lot of the guys on the streets have cars rigged up the same way we do on films. You know, they'll have a third handbrake system, you know, or you know, a foot brake system set up in the cars. Mechanics are pretty smart, you know, they're not just film mechanics. The film mechanic can figure this out. You know, a normal mechanic can also figure it out. And, you know, a guy will bring his car in and say, hey, I want, you know, an emergency brake put in here for me. You know, all I want to do is lock up the back tires.
And these modifications, I'm expecting that you've had training and a bunch of practice with. Could this potentially make it more unsafe for someone just to install this randomly and start using it in the car?
Yeah.
Totally unsafe.
100% unsafe.
Yeah.
You know, because at any given time, the system could break.
So now you've got a driver who isn't professionally trained to be doing this stuff or doesn't have the experience, and you've got a mechanic potentially installing something that they don't have experience in either. That is just a wreck waiting to happen. Like, you know, make sure you got a will before you get in your car. Like, that's super, super dangerous. Good question.
Unfortunately, people are doing it.
Yeah.
So illegal, the street race, they get a thrill from speeding on public roads. I guess that is the main motivation. And they don't really want to hear that it's dangerous. It's not fully changing their mind. If someone has that need for speed, the need for a thrill in vehicles, what advice would you give them?
There are plenty of places to go. I mean, there are lots of racetracks around. There are a lot of clubs you can join that, you know, will rent a racetrack for a weekend or a couple of days, and you can go out and you pay your $50 per day and you get to go on the track and do what you want there under safe conditions, you know, where they have safety people monitoring everything that's going on. I would rather do it that way than on a street because there's no risk involved. You know, there's none.
A lot of the car companies have experiences, like BMW's got them. You
Yeah,
know?
Porsche's got them.
Porsche's got
You know?
them. You know, you can go down and, I mean, is Petty still doing his driving school?
Yeah,
I mean,
Richard Petty.
You can go drive with Richard Petty, for heaven's sakes, you
Yeah.
know? And the cost associated with doing all that, I assure you, is a lot less than the cost that they're putting into modifications to their cars.
Yeah.
And it's totally legal and it's a blast.
Yeah.
And your school, you mentioned before, did you want to share any info of like, where is it, what's it called? Just as general awareness.
It's his school is called the A-List Stunt Drivers. And it was started, a long time ago, by himself.
14, 15 years ago,
Yeah.
By Gil Combs, Dwayne Mclean, and myself started it. And
just to give you a bit of background, Dwayne Mclean, everybody should know who that man is. He is undoubtedly the grandfather of stunts in Canada. He has been in the business for a very, very long time.
he's the man who gave me my start.
Yeah. He's very well renowned as a driver, amongst other things. And then Gil Combs is actually a third generation stuntman, if you can believe that there is one. His grandfather started back in the silent era. His dad, and then he came along, and he's the guy that drove the bus on speed.
For Sandra Bullock.
Yeah,
oh, cool,
He did all the
He
driving from the roof.
he does a lot
the
of
roof.
he does a lot of the big rig stuff. Like he's skied
Yeah,
18 wheelers on one side. Like he's just Yeah, the whole family's incredible. So the three of them got together and said, you know, and it was a lot of pressure, you know, from other stunt folks saying, you know, where do we go to learn? So they came together as a group and put it together, and they've been doing it. They don't do it all the time. We did one last year, 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was
and he had Debbie Evans-Levitt come up, and she's the one that doubles Michelle Rodriguez on the Fast and Furious franchise.
And Debbie Evans is a legend in her own
Oh
right.
my gosh,
I mean, this girl has done everything.
Really?
Oh yeah, she's amazing. She's there's nothing she cannot do in a car or a motorcycle.
Mm.
And she's just phenomenal.
Yeah. So we've had guest instructors come up as well. Gary Combs came up, who's Gil's dad. Al Wyatt Jr., God bless his soul.
Oh yeah.
We miss him. He's not with us anymore, but
Al used to jump to General Lee all the time. He
on the Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah, Al was Al was a good friend of ours, and
he passed away.
He did all the Dukes of Hazzard stuff. Yeah. All the jumps. He still, to this day, holds the world record for the longest jump in the Dukes car.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
I didn't know it was a world record. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a great driver. And he was one of the biggest practical jokers you'd ever see. So he was so much fun to be working with at class or on set, anywhere. You'd be sitting, and Al would be in the passenger side. They'd yell action, you turn your car off. You know, you're just ready to stand on gas, and all of a sudden he's taking your car keys and throwing them out the window. He's a practical joker. He just loves screwing around with everybody.
He'd be doing a driving course, and he'd be spraying the students through the window with the hose. And
oh, yeah. Well,
a lot of fun. Yeah. Why learn to drive with distractions?
That's probably like appreciated on a film set, eh? Someone who just like keeps the whole thing light.
Yeah. You can always count on Al if things got too tense. You know.
Do you know in the Dukes of Hazzard they used to swim in the back of the water trucks?
What?
Well,
they would get hot. So
yeah, they'd be on set, and they were shooting behind the studios all the time, right? So,
back in the back hills of the desert, it got hot.
And so they'd have water trucks to keep the dust down. Well, at lunchtime, they'd all climb in the water trucks to keep cool.
Oh my God. That's hilarious.
True story. You won't hear John Snyder talking about that, but ask him.
Yes, Al said. So they got together, and initially they had 3 courses. They had a 1-day course that was just for somebody who wanted to do just what you were saying.
Spend a day in a car with a stuntman.
Right?
Yeah.
And they actually get in the cars with you. You're not in the cars, nobody teaching you on a radio, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then they have a 2-day course, which he still does. And that's more geared towards those that, are professional drivers or are thinking about getting in the business or are in the business. And then there's
You'd be surprised at how many professional race car drivers we've had go through the driving
rally drivers, race car drivers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and the first thing out of everybody's lips is, this is totally different than what I thought. It's like, these are professional drivers, and it's like, this is completely opposite of everything I thought I was going to be doing.
Some of them actually, they have difficulties transitioning from doing that, in a car to doing stunts in the car. There's a marked difference.
What is it about that makes it so different and surprising to people?
Well, again, it's precise control of the car.
Yeah, I was like, you have to be in complete control of the car, making it look like you were out of control of the car.
Oh.
And believe me, that there is a real trick to it. It's putting the car on that very, very fine edge, and putting yourself on that very fine edge, but knowing that you're still in control. But as far as the cameras are concerned, it's like, geez, he's gonna hit us,
So if you have to plan a car crash, like a car rolling down the hill, you have to account for how many times that car is probably going to roll, how fast that car is probably going to be rolling, and everything like that.
Yeah, Yeah, well, I take into account how fast I'm going to be going when the car starts its flip. Because if you were doing it on a flat surface, each roll you do is going to slow the car down.
Right.
But when you're going downhill, each roll you do is going to speed the car up. You're gaining speed. You're not, losing speed.
So you kind of have to put yourself in the driver's seat way before you even think about what equipment you need, and think about and actually try and live it as you're thinking it through.
I used to, people, when I was doing a big stunt, I would go off on my own. I would go to where the ramp was, and I would literally walk through everything. And what I mean by that is where I was in the car when I was hitting that ramp, how the car was going to turn, and I would walk it down the street as the car was supposed to be doing what it was doing, and turn around and go, okay, the car is going to hit right here the first time, then get in the air and hit here a second time. And everybody would be like, nah. But the car, that's what the car would do. And for some reason, I had this ability, I could see it in my head as I was walking through it, that I knew the car was going to do this, going off of this particular ramp. And I had several different types of ramps, that would make cars do different things, because you hit one ramp at 40 miles an hour, it's going to do one thing. You hit another ramp at a different speed, it'll do a different thing.
So he became well known for being able to put a car where he said it was going to go, which assisted production, because they would see Shane coming and the cameraman wouldn't hesitate about getting a little closer.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Tania can tell you a story. They came to see me on, my son and Tania came on.
Pacifier. Pacifier? No.
No.
Four Brothers.
No.
See?
Precinct 13.
Precinct 13, yeah.
Oh, I watched that one.
Yeah. Well, I rode the Suburban over.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. So when we showed up on set, they had already set up cameras and everything, and my son and Tanya and I went over and we were looking at the Suburban I was going to roll. And of course, nothing is ever a straight run in, I had to come in off of this paved part, onto a dirt part, around a corner, up a hill, to where the ramp was. And so I walked through the whole thing. And, a stunt coordinator was behind me and the director. And as soon as I was there, started walking through it, the camera guys started moving the cameras. And the director goes, why, guys, put the cameras back. No, it's okay, Shane's driving. If Shane says the car's going to land here, the car's going to land there, right? Which is a very nice compliment, that the camera crew feels that safe around you. And so it's time to do the stunt. I'm in the car, and you take over from here because I'm in the car.
Oh, yeah, so he's in the car. So we've got his son, right? And so one of the reasons for taking him was to show him exactly what we're trying to impart in you guys today, is how much safety goes into what they do, right? So the amount of planning, the safety protocols that are on set, who's there to make sure that his dad's going to be okay. The guys that set up the car actually let his son climb through the car so he could actually see it, because we wanted him, education is everything, right? As far as safety goes. So when it came time to do it, I took his son, and he was sitting in my lap, and it's the first time he'd ever seen it. So we were, I was ready to go like this and cup his mouth in case he screamed or whatever, right? Because we didn't know how he was going to react. So I held on to him.
Oh, first the director was out.
Oh, yes, yeah. So I'm hanging on to him, and the director goes, "What are they doing there?" And the coordinator says, "Don't worry about it. It's Shane's wife." Oh, yeah. It's his wife.
Yeah, they thought they were a little close, and no, it's his wife and his son.
Yeah, the director's, I guess he's not going to hit them, right? No. So he comes flying around the corner, goes up, does it, and I can feel his son ready to jump up. And so I hold him down and put my hand over his mouth until the yelled cut, because he wanted to go and, you know, see how his dad was and everything else. And of course, his dad was fine. So.
Oh, that poor kid. He was probably like traumatized.
No, he wasn't. He started collecting steering wheels and cars he crashed afterwards.
He said, Dad, will you give me the steering wheel? I wanted to hang him on his wall, right?
So he had a bunch of steering wheels for cars.
we had him on set. I had my 65 Mustang.
He had a bullet car.
I had 68 fastback. I had the bullet car. And Tania was on set with him one day, and I was second unit directing and driving. And he was in the car with Tania. I told Tania, I said, okay, I don't need you in this shot, so you guys go park on the side.
Because I was and he was pestering me all day long. I want to talk on the radio. I want to talk on the radio. He might have been 6 or 7. I want to talk on the radio, and he was driving me bananas. So
I said to Tanya, I said, okay, you guys, I don't need you in the shot. You go off on the side, right? And all of a sudden you hear on the walkie-talkie, okay, Daddy, that's a big 10-4 over and out.
I finally just gave the radio to him. And the whole crew burst out laughing.
The whole crew just went nuts on me, you know.
You gotta have some fun, right? Because they're long days on set, right?
I can imagine just being like a PA on that set that day. It's just like.
So that's we start off talking about the driving school. So the other thing that's really, really important to Shane is he's like a walking encyclopedia when it comes to stunts and who did what, et cetera, et cetera. And it's really, really important. There's been a lot of safety that has been developed by people who have gone before the people that are doing it today. And it's super important to know the history. So we also spend a lot of time talking about the history. So in order for stunt people to have a respect for the progress that's been made and the sacrifices
all the people who did this before me, who taught me how to do it. You know, and you hope every generation that comes along, they improve the safety and they improve what they're doing in the industry. And it certainly is the case, because when I started, people were getting hurt a lot and accidents were happening a lot. And now, nothing. You know, it's very, very rare if someone gets seriously injured on a film set.
I mean, there are injuries, of course. I mean, that's just part of the business.
You're going to break arms, you're going to break fingers, you know, things like that. You know, that will happen. But nobody should ever lose their life making a movie.
You're making air here.
Yeah.
So getting into that, have you ever, like, do you have any stories of anyone who got like a really serious injury during like a collision or an accident that happened on set?
Nobody. One of the proudest things in my career is that I've never hurt anybody.
Wow.
On my shows. Nobody's ever been hurt on any of my shows except me.
Except him, yeah.
And the reason for that is I won't let anybody do something I haven't personally gone out and done myself. Because how can I tell you how to do it if I haven't done it? And unfortunately, in today's business, there are a lot of people out there that haven't done anything. But,
yeah.
And, you know, I've been around when people have been injured. I don't want to talk about things like that because they weren't my shows. I wasn't in control, and it's not my place. And if I wasn't there, I have no right to talk about it.
Right.
That's my opinion.
Okay. I won't press on that anymore then. But I guess like
ask him what his X-rays look like. You can do that.
Yeah. But like I guess compared to a film set versus just doing stunts in public, how different would the scene look if a car crashed on a film set versus in public?
I'll give you an example. You remember the old thrill show days?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that would be your live, we called them live shows. Mm-hmm. You know, you do a live show in front of the public, and you're doing the same thing day over day, right? Mm-hmm. But the problem anytime there was ever an accident on those type of shows, it was usually equipment failure. Not a human error. It was someone wrong with the equipment. It broke down. Or, you know, the prep that goes into a live show, you don't have as much control over what's going to take place as you would on a film set. You know, on a live show, you can't just shut it down. You got 20,000 people out there waiting to see you do something. You can't say, well, you know, I don't know. I changed my mind. I'm not going to do this. You know, you got to go through it.
We're talking about live shows or live streets?
My next question was more of a follow-up to the last one. But you know, I think I'm just gonna, cause it's like, I was gonna ask if for a story of like, of an accident, and then like, how would that, have gone down if that was like an illegal stunt being performed without even like emergency people around, things like that.
Well, okay, I'll give you an example. Okay, nobody gets hurt here, but this is the procedure on set. If I'm doing a big car wreck, then I have my crew of 4 or 5 stunt people, all decked out in complete fire gear. They are the first people that get to the car. Once they yell cut, they are the first people that get there. Nobody else on set is allowed to go near me until they have given the okay. If there is a problem, they will call for the ambulance. The ambulance is standing right by. They will come in. The fire department will come in. We have the jaws of light whenever we're doing any kind of car stuff, big car stuff. We always have the fire department with the jaws of light to make sure they can get you out of the car. You know, because they can do as much damage to you trying to get you out as you did yourself in the wreck. So the next step would be, once they call them in, they back out, the ambulance attendants would take over and the fire department would take over and get me out of the car. If I needed to be transported, I would either be transported immediately from there to a location where I could be. If I was in really serious condition, a helicopter would come in to take me out. And when we were doing big stunts, we always have standby. You know, you're always have ambulances standby, air ambulance. If you're away, like say we're an hour's drive from a hospital, we will have an air ambulance standing by that can be there within 10 minutes. And so if I had to be taken by air ambulance, they would take me to a location where the air ambulance was previously set up to land. They would come in, pick me up, and take me from there to the hospital.
So like some of the locations are pretty remote. Like which one was it again? I forget the number. When you were in Iceland.
Oh yeah.
9,
7, 8.
8. We got them all mixed up.
Yeah, you're at like 11 or something now. Yeah.
They were on a frozen lake in the northern part of Iceland with nothing around.
You guys used a lot of behind the footage stuff when you did the interview with me.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and we were 6 hours from Reykjavik. So we landed. We spent the day there. Then we got on a flight the next morning. They flew us 6 hours away to the next airport, and then 2 hours by bus.
There's nowhere.
We were in the middle of nowhere. I mean, nowhere. The only thing that was near us was
there was a whaling town.
There was a whaling town that was about 45 minutes away, and the closest real town where you could go and buy a pizza was an hour and a half away. So we had helicopters, we had everything you could have was there on standby if anything happened.
Yeah, so you basically have to bring the whole thing with you. So it's like an autonomous unit of everything you can think of, like food, equipment. You got to think about getting gas. You got to, equipment, hair, makeup, wardrobe, like it's
trailers for the guys to change
mammoth,
in, you know?
absolutely mammoth, you know,
Yeah.
places to stay. The place where they stayed there, it looked like a prison. It was awful.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I took a picture the first day we were there. I took a picture outside my hotel room of the snow. It was 10 feet above my window.
Yeah. Sometimes it's not very glamorous. So,
Yeah.
you know, doesn't matter where you go, you got to make sure that you have all of that stuff in place. So imagine the worst case scenario and plan for it. And that costs money. I got to tell you, it's not cheap, right?
Yeah, that's why movies cost so much now. You know, it's a lot is the locations go to them. We had the only 2 Zambonis in Iceland working for us.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Zambonis out there too? Like, oh.
Yeah, in Iceland, yeah, they drove them up 6 hours drive. You know, they cleaned the lake. I mean, the director wanted this shot where he wanted the reflection, so he wanted one stretch just like, you know, sheer as pavement. And the weather when we got there, like I said, snow was 10 feet above my window. And in the first week, they had a heat wave. We had to shut down because the lake melted. It was
wow.
It was all slush. So we had to shut down for 3 days. Wait for the cold to come back in, and then it got cold again. We're back on the ice.
Goodness gracious. That's probably like a producer's nightmare. It's like, oh, I can't shoot for the days.
Yeah. Oh, Die Hard was it was Die Hard 2.
Oh, were you in the second
one? They wanted to shoot. They were supposed to, they wanted to do, it was supposed to be the winter, right? Christmas. And they had to keep moving farther north. Every time they moved, the snow melted. Wherever they went, the snow melted.
This summer is like chasing you.
Yeah. It cost them a fortune. So they ended up making their own snow.
Yeah, that'd probably be the way to go.
That's what happens on movies sometimes. I mean, I went away. I had a whole stunt crew. We were doing a big motorcycle chase. We started one day, got up the next morning, and there was 4 feet of snow. Couldn't shoot anything. I mean, you can't shoot a motorcycle chase at 4 feet of snow. We sat around for 3.5 weeks. Snow didn't melt. They sent us home.
Oh, that sucks.
We're getting off topic here.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's okay. Sorry, it's my fault. Like I told you last time, I get distracted.
No, I'm horrible. I'm a big movie guy. I could talk about movies all day. So
we just leave you two alone.
Yeah.
Tony.
Yeah. Drop your number down.
Over with beers.
Yeah. So next thing, when we recorded you guys for the launch, you guys mentioned how it's kind of offensive how the term stunt driving is used for like illegal street racing and all these like amateurs doing stunts. And we were curious, like, what would be a more appropriate term that we can call these acts that you guys would?
I would call it what it is. You're endangering public lives. You know, it's beyond dangerous driving. You know.
I've been thinking about that. You know, and I'm actually going to take it back to the stunt community and see if they have an idea.
Yeah.
We need a better description of what it is because, you know, I think we've probably converted you guys. What's happening on the streets is not stunt driving.
No, it's not.
No.
Right.
Absolutely.
And it absolutely glorifies criminal activity. There's no question about it. Right. And I believe, you know, some education around that, you know, might change a few minds here and there.
I'll give you an example. You were asking earlier an example of an accident. When I first came to Toronto and started getting into business at 77, and there was another guy. I don't even remember the man's name. There was a couple people trying to get in all at the same time, and at a party one night, guy had had a few drinks, showing off to his friends, you know, and went whipping down the street and tried to do a 180 and lost control of the car and ended up smashing into a bunch of parked cars and hitting somebody. And luckily he didn't kill anybody, but he was never heard of in the stunt industry again.
There is zero room for reckless people in this
And
industry.
that was 40 something years ago. And no, we wouldn't even tolerate it then. I always said, because when I first got into it, everybody I knew, nobody knew about stuntmen, and you'd go somewhere, and people would say, "You're a stuntman? Oh, do something." And
Or they'd want to fight you.
Yeah, or they'd want to fight. You know, especially in the bars, if you're wearing something that had a stunt logo on it, everybody wanted to fight. But you know, friends would say, "Well, yeah, show me something, do something." And the first thing I would say, "You want to see something I did? Pay the $5 to go see the movie." Yeah. I'm not giving away nothing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take a chance and hurt somebody.
Yeah. So any of these guys that are doing, and it's probably girls too, I shouldn't just say guys, but any of these folks that are doing this on the road, if they, you know, have aspirations of doing this for a living one day, don't be looking to the movie industry because they're not interested in reckless people. They are not going to spend all this time and all this money to plan these sets and these stunts out safely, only to have somebody that has no regard for the person next to them, which is what's happening on the streets, or someone reckless coming in and ruining everything. That's just not good.
Well, one of the first things I teach you at my driving school is you don't need speed to do this stuff.
No.
You don't. What you need is control of the vehicle. And so I teach people how to do it at slow speeds and then how to control a car at higher speeds. And never, ever be out of control. Because if you are out of control of the car, you are going to crash. Yeah. Never step beyond your ability as a performer in any field.
I mean, I could drive a car, but I would never be a stunt driver. I'm not qualified to do that, right? And so it's important that everybody, you know, having a license and having a car is not a right. That is something that you need to earn. I mean, you had to take driving tests, you had to take driving licenses to get your license. We're not entitled to it, and you need to earn it to keep it as well, right? That's why they have laws. And I'm sorry, but you know, you don't have the right to go on the same street that my mom is driving on, who by the way, there's a group that are seriously affected, are seniors. They panic when they see these guys and girls racing around the streets. In fact, I was talking to my neighbor just the other day about your initiative, and she described an incident that happened to her on the 410 with some folks racing around her. And there was one woman behind her, an elderly woman, who was absolutely freaked out. That causes accidents too. And what it also does is, we have another neighbor, she's in her late 70s. She won't drive because of the stuff that's going on the streets. It's not fair. It's not right.
And you know, usually the person who causes the accident isn't in it.
No.
You know, they're 10 miles down the road when the wreck takes place. But they're the ones who caused it.
It's the residual effects too that they're not thinking about. And again, I'm not saying by any means that these people are going out trying to hurt somebody. I'm sure they're not. But they, you know, they need to think, and some education and what you guys are doing is fantastic. It really, truly is.
Yeah.
Our hats off to you guys.
Bravo to you guys.
Thank you.
Because when I was your age, I wasn't thinking the way you guys are thinking, because luckily for me, everything I do is in a controlled environment.
Yeah.
You know, I get paid to go fast, but it's always in a controlled environment. And, you know, the need to have speed offset, no, I don't need it.
So, that really resonates with me, how, like, you guys, like, you talk about how, like, you got, like, so much history, like, there's so much, like, honor about being a street racer. And like the young kids, they probably don't even think about that. So like, what can we do to like change the minds of these like young street racers who just?
Yeah, I mean, do you think guys like Don Garlitz and John Force, people like that who they're living for 40 years drag racing? Do you think they would even think about doing it on the street?
Probably not.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, one of my big beefs was, if you remember the movie Days of Thunder with Cruise.
Oh yes.
And Tom Cruise and the other driver get called into NASCAR. And the two of them are driving different cars, and they're on their way to the meeting at NASCAR, remember?
They're in rental car.
Yeah, one's in a rental car. But they end up getting into a race on the streets, right? And
Yeah.
When that come out, the first thing I thought was, no NASCAR in his right mind would do that. No NASCAR driver would do that,
Yeah.
But that was showbiz,
That was a really bad example, right? Like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. That's why I never liked it when it came out, because
Yeah, it's probably almost offensive.
it wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen. You wouldn't get two professional guys doing that to one another on open streets.
No. And the other thing that folks need to remember is, what happens in the movies isn't real.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to do those stunts, I mean, you wouldn't have that set up around the corner. It's done for a reason, and it's fake, right?
Yeah. It's
movies.
It's
entertainment, right?
Yeah.
So it's all make believe.
Unfortunately, it glorifies some of this stuff, which is our motivation behind getting the push to change this term, because it just glorifies it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of work and grit that goes behind making film sets safe. And I hope we've been able to, especially Shane, has been able to,
It has taken us, myself, 40 some years to get the safety measures put in place that we have. When I first started, directors and producers would want you to roll the car over, but they didn't want to put a roll cage in the car.
Mm-hmm.
That costs too much money. No. Just, we don't even want you to wear a helmet. Just lie down on the floor, lie down on the seat. And
for years they had to fight for that.
We had to fight to have roll cages and safety put into the vehicles. And now it's become a common thing, and producers will do it. They know. But
it took years.
It took years to do that.
Decades.
Yeah. And nowadays you got like insurance and stuff, right?
Well, yeah, don't talk to me about insurance. Here's an interesting thing you might not know. Stunt performers are actually excluded under the Workers' Compensation Act in Ontario. They can't get workers' compensation insurance. So for years and years and years, these guys had to sign what was called a blood sheet. And what that said was that if something happens to you, you won't sue production in case you're injured or you die. And that was the condition that they had. They had to sign that in order to work.
Wow.
So our union, ACTRA, which is like SAG in the States, but it's ACTRA in Canada, they came up with their own insurance program. And
great.
Yeah. So that it covers stunt performers. But that's.
And another interesting fact is, do you remember, you guys may not remember, but back in the 80s, Workman's Comp used to have all these commercials for safety.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. They had like about 2-3 years of Workman's Comp commercials. And every
don't drink and drive and all that kind of stuff, right?
But they're all Workman's Comp, and every single one of those commercials was performed by a stuntman that they wouldn't cover.
That they wouldn't insure.
That's horrible.
So if they got hurt on the
Dwayne Mclean, who was the spokesman for Workman's Compensation for 2 years, he was their spokesperson, never got insurance from them.
Wow.
So if he technically gets injured on that set for workers' comp, he's not getting workers' comp.
That is
No,
hilarious.
and he signed a form that says he won't sue anybody.
Wow. I gotta look up those videos now.
Yeah. You know, so it took years and years to get where we are. And I'd hate to see it all change because people.
Yeah. So, yeah, they're yeah.
People got to think, kids got to think, you know, yeah, you got a fast car. There's places you can go drive it. Spend the money, learn how to drive.
If you were smart, you would go and rent a car at one of these tracks instead of busting up your own car. Like, really? Like, common sense here. Why do you want to pay all that money, have these mammoth monthly payments, and then you want to go out and damage your car? That doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, would you set fire to your own house too?
Oh yeah, that was one of the things that were annoying us. We were like looking up, like, why do these street racers keep doing it? And one of the more common stuff they'd say is like, oh, we don't want to pay the $100 it costs to go rent a track for a day. And I'm like, and you put like $10,000 worth of gear in your car, like.
Yeah.
That just doesn't make any sense, does it?
You want to risk losing your life and your license.
And your car,
your
like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's the logic. There's no logic sometimes. It's like,
Anyway, how much time have we taken up of yours?
Yeah, so we're coming up to about the end here. It's too bad. I really like talking about this sort of stuff, and it's a real honor like talking to someone who's,
like I said, someday when people are able to sit across from one another, we'll sit down and have a beer, and I'll tell you all the stories you want to hear.
He could go on for days.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So before we sign off here, do you have any social media that you would like to plug that we can like get people to reach out to?
Well, the stunt community are kind of private, like all of our stunt pages, et cetera, because we don't want people using information incorrectly. They are kind of private.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Do you have one maybe for your son's school or like a website or something like that?
No, I kind of, no, we don't have that anymore. Here's the problem. We were getting some people coming. So the stunt school is more by referral these days, because we were having people come in with the wrong intentions. And so it's, yeah.
Okay. It's like we used to have a questionnaire. Right now I will train stunt people. I will take people that are already stunt people in the business and teach them how to do stuff. I won't take somebody in off the street who I don't know.
Without a referral.
In the beginning we did, but we did have a couple people come in. We had one hairdresser guy who came in, was taking the course because he wanted to show off to his friends, and I said, no, you're not taking the course. No. Because that's exactly the type of guy you and I are. Talking about.
We're trying to keep off the race.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So thanks for asking, but it's by referral.
Okay.
Yeah. That's why we only do it once in a while now. There's too many people you don't want to teach this to.
No.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess the final thing we wanted to ask you is would it be too much trouble if we could ask you to do like a not worth the risk statement? Throw our hashtag on there.
We're just making a compilation of all these professional racers who are speaking out against it. So I don't know if you just wanted to say not worth the risk or street racing is not worth the risk, something like that.
What do you want us to say?
Yeah, just.
I guess you could say it. I don't know. Should they say it both at the same time? It could be more dramatic. Like it's not worth the risk.
It's not worth the risk, and you say so.
Come here, honey. Come here. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
It's not worth the risk.
That was perfect.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. It was a pleasure again.
Good to meet you guys, and thanks
Wish
for
you all the best.
reaching out. Right. And I'm going to be sending some more folks your way. So I've got 2 on board for you. How many more folks are you looking for to help you out here?
Honestly,
as many as it takes. As many as it takes. Yeah.
So I'm going to be talking. Angelica Liscon is the next one I'm going to send to you. She is absolutely fantastic.
Great person.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Awesome.
Incredibly talented stunt girl and stunt coordinator. So I'm going to be talking to her later tonight. We'll put something together. And then I've already reached out to a couple of other folks in the stunt community as well. Okay.
Cool. Awesome. Well, all right. It was
Thank you so much for your time.
It's a huge honor. It's a huge honor. I'm a huge fan of the Fast and Furious franchise. I appreciate what you guys do. And looking forward to seeing what else you come out with.
Tania, make sure she sends you my demo.
Yeah, I'll send you the demo.
True, yes.
It's old, but I haven't updated it in years.
And I told Emily, you guys pulled a shot from one of the behind the scenes on Fast and Furious, and there's a guy with a yellow jacket on.
Oh yeah. Shane was sitting right beside him or something.
That's Rosados, who's the second unit director, and at the time that they were filming that, he was in the car taking a picture of him.
No, what you saw was Andy Gill and Spiro Rosados discussing the shot we were going to do next. I was 3 feet away in a Hummer, directly in front of them, and they were giving me direction what I was going to do. And I was taking a picture with my camera, and they were going,
So it's funny that you pulled that.
That one particular shot. It was like,
so if I can find it, I'm going to send it to you because you'll laugh your head off.
Yeah, because I can show you the reverse shot that I took the mid side of it.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Alrighty.
Okay, take care, guys.
Well, take care.
Take care.
Have a good rest of the summer. You too.
Bye.